Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Datsuning Done Right with Aaron at 510 Bender and Patrick Smith of High Impact Motorsports. Today's episode is brought to you by Modified Racewear. Be sure to check out the guys over at Modified Racewear. Use code 510BENDOR for your special discount. I believe they're still having the orders over $69 get free shipping. They have more than just Datsun apparel. They have Chevy apparel, Volkswagen apparel, and if you don't see the apparel you're looking for and the swag you're looking for, they do custom apparel. So head over to Modified Racewear and use code 510BENDOR for your special discount. All right, now that we got our commercial and plugs out of the way, welcome to an episode of Datsuning Done Right. That's going to be the name of this talk. We're going to talk Datsun. And so this is going to be a little segue into where we're going with this. When we say we're going to talk Datsun, it's fun to get all nerdy and talk about... Hi, honey. It's fun to talk about, technical details, engine specs, L-Series versus NAP-Z. Those are great topics. We could talk about suspension geometry of the 510. We could talk about solid axle versus independent axle on four-wheel drive. But, when we talk about Datsuning, not just Datsuns in general. So Datsuns are a make of car made by Nissan. So we're going to include some of the Nissan family in this down the road, I'm sure. But when we talk about Datsuning, I think we're talking about more than just a car. We're talking about a lifestyle. These cars and the community around them really encompass more than just the cars themselves. And I apologize, Patrick. We're gonna this is gonna be a broad one. I'm sure you're gonna have a great bit to put in on this, though. So what is Datsuning? That's gonna be our topic. What is Datsuning? As opposed to just what's a Datsun. We know what a Datsun is. A Datsun is a car. It could range from a 210 to a 620 to a 521 to a 210. Also mistaken as a B310 because, well, that is also considered a 210 depending on what model year you're looking at. But, those are just VIN code designations. Those all each have their own inherent mechanical aptitudes as far as what application they have. But when we talk about Datsuning, there's groups of people all over different regions. Regionally, we have Desert Datsuns in Central Oregon. Patrick Smith and Carl have 702 LV Ratson out there. There are numerous smaller clubs that hit their smaller regions. We got Datsun's Northwest out in the Portland area. They host the Blue Lake show every year. We used to have the guys that did the Canby show. So there's all these smaller groups. And when we talk about Datsuning, there's the events around those. So throughout the year, each region will hold their own little events. And then, so for me, Datsuning is taking it to the next level and going to all those events by those different regional groups. A long-term goal that I had years back that I have accomplished was making it to the Route 66 JDM Classic, also formerly known as the All-State Datsun Meet. The Shasta days were a little before my time, so unfortunately I didn't get to go to Shasta. Canby was always a big draw for me, but when we talk about Datsuning and you're talking about going to these events, there's more than just the event itself. There's the preparation up to the event, there's the hospitality around the event. Like, when you're not from a region, say when I go to Manteca for the Dots Locos meet, I have to hook up with Datsun friends in California. I have to find somewhere to stay. I have to probably get into a routine somewhere a week or two before it, getting ready to pack, figuring out how and what I can fit where in the Datsun. Sometimes there's parts transportation involved because I'm either taking parts with me or bringing parts back. So there's definitely some logistics to be sorted out. Then there's the outreach to the community to find out where I'm going to find hospitality, like a place to stay. And then there's the actual attendance of the show. And then on top of that, you get the travels in between. So let's say you're out Datsuning and you're going to go to a 702 LV Ratson meet. Well, what if my buddy Brian and Derek want to go with me? So, oh, hey, Patrick, there you are. Yeah, we're talking about Datsuning and what it means to be Datsuning. Not just Datsuns in general, but like, what does it take to go Datsuning when you go out for a weekend? And so I think there's so much more logistics involved. And I think this ties into the Datsun community as being a community. You'll build friendships around the country. I've got friendships around the West Coast where I can find people to stay with when I go to shows out of region. So that's part of Datsuning for me. I've had the pleasure of staying with Koenig Ortiz. Hey, there he is. He's actually tuning in today. You know, I had the pleasure of staying with him when I went down to the Manteca meet. I've stayed at Patrick Smith's house when I stay in Las Vegas. He's one of my layovers. I've had people conversely stay at my place when they're out and about on the road. Randy Latuska just recently let me stay at his place for the Sonic meet. So when we talk about Datsuning, we're talking about a full encompassing experience of driving the Datsun, hanging out with the community, and really tying it together and making it kind of family-like, kind of an adventure. It's adventure time when we're out doing this kind of stuff. That's part of what we're talking about when we talk about Datsuning. So I just wanted to, you know, kind of leave this a broader topic today. What is Datsuning? Because Datsuning is really like, it's a little more hardcore. Like, especially when you're going 300, 600, 1,200 plus miles round trip. When I go down to Route 66 JDM Classic in Arizona, that turns into a 6-day trip. We end up seeing over half of the West Coast when we go do that. We'll pass through Arizona, Utah. Like, there's multiple stages. You have to know kind of sort of where your parts stores are. You have to know where your gas stations are. You have to know where your next best town is and where there's some help. And along the way, you may contact other Datsun buddies and say, hey man, you want to pop in and do some Datsuning for the day? I'm going to be at point A at time B. Like, those are the things involved in Datsuning. And it's something that just gives you a warm fuzzy feeling. It's something that helps bring some joy into a hobby like this, having really cool people to hang out with that have the same passion for similar cars, but also have similar passions in life in general beyond the car community, and breaking down some barriers as well. I personally, you know, we've all got our own beliefs and different sets of beliefs, and I really enjoy how we can embrace those and sometimes even set those aside and have healthy debate and talk cars and all kinds of good stuff and just have a good time. So it's just, yeah, Datsuning it's a very special thing to me, and I want to coin that term and really like pass on how community and lifestyle that these cars become. It's more than just a car. It's really, you know, something special when you look at the bigger picture between the cars, the activities, the festivities, as we call it around Datsun's around Bend, the fuckery that happens after certain hours, because, you know, we're back on rural roads, we're back in rural areas. We can get away with things that you might not be able to get away with other places. I'm sure there's places in Las Vegas, outside of Las Vegas, that we could go have fun and get in trouble and not get in trouble while we're doing it. Like, and then having people there for you when those troubles do arise. I've definitely had my fair share of wrenching on my car at other people's shops. So that's what we talk about when we talk about Datsuning. Datsuning done right. So, Patrick, there's your topic for tomorrow. What is Datsuning? Explain to your side of the audience what Datsuning is and how it relates to more than just the cars. I think I got that out there clear enough. I've got some fun other topics that we'll bring up other days. I think this would be fun to get into story time at some point, because like I mentioned, I've had to wrench some cars on other people's property, and there's some wonderful stories behind that. My wife Valerie's got some great stories along with me of some crazy stuff that happens while you're out Datsuning. Like, what do you do when a throttle sticks wide open and you find out your return spring was busted, you know? Like, things like that. When you're cruising through the desert at 100 miles an hour and you lose fifth gear. E.J. Thompson can coin into that. Like, there's so much behind Datsuning that's more than just the community. There's the stories, the folklore, the tall tales, all that good stuff. So I appreciate everyone tuning in and watching me jabber about how Datsuns work and how Datsuning works and life in general. So just wanted to kind of bring this around the wheel, and if you're just tuning in late, please feel free to go back and check out the beginning of the video. This was a really wholehearted one, pulled right from the gut, non-scripted, no notes, about Datsuning. And you know, the stories come rushing back, all the experiences. Like, these cars have so much life to them, and literally they have life to them, especially when you go out and really enjoy them and use them as they're intended. There's so many experiences behind the wheel of a Datsun. So I really appreciate everyone tuning in. Just keep tuning in. We'll get around to the crazy stories and the fun stuff. Be sure to tune in tomorrow morning. I think somewhere between 9 and 11 for Patrick Smith's side of the story. I'm going to post a link that's going to have both sides of our story on both my page, his page, and if they're both public, maybe I'll start sharing that to my 510 Bendor page, and just kind of see what we can do to keep this going along. So Patrick says 9 a.m. tomorrow. I appreciate all the comments. I'm not able to read those as I'm driving. I'm starting to get a little bit long-winded here, and coming up on the postage place. Oh shoot, I gotta go to the other postage place. Honey, I have to stop by the postage place on the way home, but not the one in Redmond, because they had a drive-through a couple of weeks ago. Somebody drove their Subaru from the side of the building to the front door, and so they haven't been taking packages for a while. Awesome. Thank you folks so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Go tune in to Patrick at 9 a.m.-ish tomorrow. And this was another episode of Datsuning Done Right, brought to you by the folks over at Modified Racewear. Don't forget to use code 510Bender over at Modified Racewear. Keep being awesome. Have an awesome day. Go drive awesome Datsuns.